Okay, so imagine this. A human, right, but raised entirely by Martians. It's a heck of a starting point, isn't it?
It really is. And clearly it grabbed you listeners too, judging by the material you sent in. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're doing a deep dive into those sources, looking at this character, Valentine Michael Smith, the man from Mars.
And what's immediately striking, I think, is just how fundamentally new this first encounter is. You've got someone who's human, biologically, sure, but culturally, socially.
Totally alien, shaped by this non-sexual Martian race.
Exactly. So when the Envoy crew shows up, people like Sergei and Eleanor Alvarez-Rimsky, it's more than just contact. It's
Mhm.
like two universes bumping into each other.
And Captain Brant nails it early on, doesn't he? Calls Smith more Martian than man. That really sets the scene.
It absolutely does. It highlights this huge cultural gap we're about to explore.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive. Digging into those initial challenges, those first weird moments and surprising insights that pop up when Smith meets humanity, all based on the materials you sent. Let's get into it. The first reactions from humans.
Wow.
Yeah,
They really tell you a lot about us, don't they? That immediate order, absolutely no women.
right. And the Marines' reason is just, well, incredibly blunt. It's all about Smith's perceived lack of um, experience.
It immediately frames the encounter through a very specific human, very sexualized lens, doesn't it? Projecting our drives onto him. What does that say about how we face the unknown?
That's a great question. And then there's the medical checkup. Dr. Smith, a different Smith, importantly.
And Mike's reaction is described as, what, detached. He just sort of
Hmm.
grokked that their intentions were benign.
There is that word grok. Even this early, it hints at a whole different way of knowing, doesn't it? Not just thinking, but understanding deeply.
Precisely. And then the confinement, the synthetic food jelly.
He must have been so confused. The polite, beg pardon, when someone gives him an order, it shows just how lost he is with basic human stuff.
Total communication breakdown. Simple things are alien.
And then Nelson comes along, trying to force him out of bed to build muscle.
Yeah, pushing this very human idea of activity, of physical strength onto someone probably from a culture of, well, stillness, maybe. Contemplation.
It's a real clash, and almost immediately you see the business side kicking in.
Oh, yeah. Peerless features limited. Rushing in with a contract for, I was a prisoner on Mars.
Before they even know anything, it's that instinct to like commodify the strange, turn it into a show.
Turn it in profit.
Hmm.
Though Dr. Frame stepping in does show a glimmer of ethics, stopping the immediate exploitation.
Okay, so let's move to the one-on-one stuff. Smith and Jill Boardman, that offer to discorporate with her.
Wow. That comes straight from his Martian understanding, doesn't it?
Yeah,
This idea
wow.
of connection that's way beyond what we think of. It's not just dying together, it's merging.
And Jill's reaction, well, I'll be darned, just total confusion.
Perfect human response, right? And Smith apparently could grok emotional violence, so he knew he'd said the wrong thing somehow. But he still prepared himself, focused on her. It was serious for him.
And Jill clarifying, you don't mean take my clothes off. It's almost funny, but it really shows the different tracks they're on about intimacy.
Completely different frameworks. And later, Jill notices he's not drugged or hypnotized. That's key.
Yeah, because everyone probably assumed his weirdness was like chemically induced or something.
Exactly. This confirms it's genuinely his upbringing. It's him. It opens the door to maybe understanding him authentically.
So Jill and Ben Caxton, the reporter, they're trying to figure him out. Ben's analogy is pretty good, actually.
The jungle tribe that's never seen shoes.
Yeah, it helps you grasp how someone from that different world would see everyday things. Cultural relativism, basically.
It's a useful way to think about it. Definitely helps bridge the gap. But even Ben shows his biases, right?
Oh, the real bright for a female line. Cringe.
And Jill's comeback about the martini. Good for her.
Mm.
But it's a sharp reminder of the society Smith's walked into. Even the people trying to help aren't immune.
So what does this all mean for Smith just existing? Ben's worried, isn't he? About the authorities.
Definitely. The whole padded cell, minimal contact scenario,
Mm-hmm.
it's a chilling possibility for how society might react to someone that different. Fear and misunderstanding.
And the G fatigue idea. The worry that Earth's gravity itself could kill him.
Adds another layer, doesn't it? It's not just culture. His biology might be struggling, too. His alienness is physical.
But Ben sees the potential value, too. A mine of information, a bridge to Mars.
He even references H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. That taps into all our old sci-fi hopes and fears about aliens, doesn't it? Smith embodies all of that.
And Jill knows Ben's taking huge risks challenging the official story.
Yeah, she understands the power dynamics.
Mm.
And the news reports just downplaying everything, saying Smith's improving slowly. It shows the effort to control the narrative.
Then Jill finds him in that weird withdrawal state, that cataleptiform thing. Scary.
And the doctors don't really know what to do, right? They just fall back on whatever Nelson did before, shows their limits.
It really highlights how vulnerable he is, despite his Martian smarts, maybe. He's out of his element.
Completely. Jill's worry, the doctor's confusion, it just emphasizes the mystery around him.
And then that simple question to Secretary General Douglas. Gee, about Earth girls.
And Douglas spins it immediately in the media, painting himself as this kindly figure. Pure manipulation.
Makes sense why Ben gets so frustrated seeing Douglas has Smith under his thumb. It's all politics.
Using Smith's uniqueness for very human power games.
Which might be why Ben suddenly disappears. Jill notices right away because he's usually so meticulous.
Yeah, she knows something's wrong.
Right.
It ramps up the danger for anyone rocking the boat.
But then Jill finds Smith in Mrs. Bankerson's room, of all places.
And he recognizes her immediately. Water brother. That's huge, right? That Martian bond.
Yeah, and he says he's getting stronger. See? I walk. I grow strong. He's adapting.
That recognition, the water brother thing, cements their connection on this deep, non-human level. And his physical recovery shows he can adapt, despite everything.
Okay, let's dig into those Martian concepts a bit more. Time, for example.
Right. Phrases like, it is later than you think, or haste makes waste. Apparently they just don't translate well.
But as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. That one resonates. It makes you question our whole human rush culture.
It suggests a totally different way of seeing time, maybe cyclical. Events like the envoy arriving might be tiny blips on their timescale.
Which changes how you'd react to things, prioritize things.
Absolutely. And then there's grokking again. That deep, intuitive understanding Smith has.
It's more than just knowing facts, isn't it? It's like feeling the whole thing.
Exactly. Holistic, maybe even empathic. His ability to do it naturally points to a different way of experiencing reality. What if we could learn to grok like that?
A big what if. Okay, so things get serious. Jill and Smith are on the run. Jill finds Ben's door code by accident. Lucky break.
But then Smith sees windows as living pictures. Again, just highlighting how alien his perception is. Mundane things are completely new.
His world is just built differently. No learned associations like we have.
So Jill decides to head for Jubal Harshaw in the Poconos. And what an intro he gets. LLB, MD, SCD.
Right, a real polymath, living out there with his amazingly beautiful and good secretaries. Definitely sounds like a character.
Seems like someone outside the mainstream, maybe more open-minded because of it, used to thinking for himself.
And while they're heading there, we see Mrs. Douglas playing politics back home. Such a contrast to Jubal's world.
Yeah, it sets up this dynamic. Political power versus intellectual curiosity. Two different ways of dealing with Smith's arrival.
Once they get to Jubal's, Smith just blossoms almost, learns to read in a day.
With Jill's help.
Yeah.
And swimming becomes this huge, almost religious experience for him. He's engaging with Earth so intensely.
It's like he's seeing everything for the first time with no filters. Pure wonder.
And crucially, Jubal decides not to make him a project. He respects the Martian unknown.
That's a huge difference from the people trying to sell his story or use him politically.
It's more ethical, maybe more insightful. Jubal recognizes the limits of what humans know and sees the value in just observing, learning from Smith.
We also meet Anne, the fair witness. Her job is just objective observation.
Which is vital in a situation like this. And then there's Ben's lawyer, Cavendish. His testimony is really cagey.
Yeah, he focuses on ear shape, doesn't actually confirm the guy he saw was Smith. Very careful wording, raises questions about what's really going on.
Smells like legal maneuvering, or maybe navigating tricky political waters without lying outright.
And then Ben vanishes again after meeting Cavendish and Frisbee. Definitely feels like someone's trying to silence him.
Yeah, it reinforces that powerful forces are controlling the narrative and getting rid of inconvenient people.
So Jill has this weird encounter with a guy named Bergquist. She tells Jubal she thinks there are unseen people involved.
And Jubal, being Jubal, doesn't just take her word for it. He gets Anne, sets up cameras. He wants proof.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Verifiable evidence, especially when things feel deceptive.
And then we see Smith's powers developing, moving things with his mind. Telekinesis.
Whoa. And his understanding of a gun. Just bad thing. So simple, so direct.
Yeah, it highlights his alienness. Again, maybe a more innocent view of violence, less complicated than ours.
Then there's that scene with Duke, Jubal's tech guy. He makes some prejudiced cracks about Martians.
Jubal shuts it down instantly. No bigotry at his table. References dining with publicans and sinners. Makes his own moral code very clear.
Shows his fairness, his open-mindedness. He won't stand for prejudice.
Which makes the next bit even more startling. Smith offers to, well, to eat Jubal as the highest honor.
Oh my God. Yeah, the ultimate Martian compliment versus the ultimate human taboo. Cannibalism.
It just slams home how fundamentally different their values are. Communication across that gap, almost impossible without deep understanding. Cultural relativism in the extreme.
The story then touches on human religion, the Fosterites. Their bon voyage parties sound weird. Like funerals where you're not allowed to have fun.
And Jubal's cynicism about all human religions really comes through, sharp as ever.
And somehow Jubal accidentally promises Mike he can interview a Fosterite.
Which is tricky because Mike literally can't understand lying,
Yep.
right? He's all about truth.
Makes him incredibly vulnerable to people who do lie, like maybe the Fosterite.
Potentially. His inability to grasp deception highlights a huge difference in, maybe, Martian society itself. Trust and directness might be everything there.
Things escalate. Jubal starts prepping for a raid, dead man switch, panic button for Anne. They feel a real threat.
Definitely. Those precautions show how dangerous they think the situation is becoming. It's not just talk anymore.
And sure enough, the squads arrive. Special service.
But Jubal stands his ground, demands legal procedure, quotes the world code. He's not backing down.
Using the law against them. Protecting his household.
But the warrants are a mess, right?
Yeah.
Charging Mrs. Barkman with kidnapping Smith and Smith with fleeing custody.
It's completely contradictory. It shows how badly the authorities are handling something so outside their experience. Their own systems can't cope.
Total bureaucratic chaos, trying to fit an alien situation into human legal boxes.
And somehow the news misses the whole raid at Jubal's. New World Networks is MIA.
Suggests information control, doesn't it? A media blackout. And Jubal can't even get through to Douglas directly. Shows the limits of his influence.
He's hitting bureaucratic walls, can't reach the top guy.
We get a little backstory, mentioned Dr. Brush, Becky. And then Jubal starts playing the game, uses Ben's disappearance as leverage to reach Douglas.
He knows how power works when he needs to. Smart. Determined to protect his people.
Which leads to that amazing phone call. Jubal versus Douglas. Tense stuff.
Jubal demands to see Caxton, threatens to go to the press. He really puts the pressure on.
And Douglas caves. Reluctantly agrees. But then immediately puts out that fake news story about Smith vacationing in the Poconos.
Unbelievable. The level of spin, just outright lying to the public to control the story.
It's truth versus political convenience, and convenience wins for the government, it seems.
But the good news is, Ben Caxton comes back. Finally.
Huge relief. You can feel Jill relax. Even Jubal teases him a bit.
And Mike offers Ben water. That Water Brothers ritual again. Really touching. Acceptance.
Yeah, solidifies their weird little family, their nest. Builds those bonds deeper through the Martian custom.
Jill's feelings seem pretty tangled up, though, between Ben and Mike.
Understandable given the circumstances. Smith's presence is changing her whole world, her ideas about connection, blurring lines.
Jubal then lays it all out for Ben. The political danger, the need to manage Smith's image, his wealth, mentions the Larkin decision.
Right, hinting at huge legal fights over Martian resources, maybe. The stakes are massive, not just personal, but potentially global. Protecting Smith is key.
And then we meet Captain Van Trump from the Champion. His take is unsettling. Thinks Smith might be a Martian scout.
Yeah, that throws a different light on things, doesn't it? Raises the possibility of a bigger Martian plan, maybe reconnaissance. Adds this layer of strategic uncertainty. Is Smith's arrival accidental or intentional?
Back at Jubal's place, the mail is just pouring in for Smith. Overwhelming.
Jubal tries to sort it, but Mike is just fascinated. He sees it as a direct way to grok humanity, understand us through our letters.
Even through junk mail, probably. And Mike perceives faces differently, too. Sees most young women as basically the same.
Except Jill. He recognizes her instantly, completely. Shows how unique their bond is, how differently he processes information. It's not just visual, it's deeper.
And that reaction to the photo of the older woman, calling her beauty, connecting her to the Martian old ones, that's unexpected.
Totally challenges our beauty standards, right? It's just a different Martian value system, maybe revering age and wisdom. Opens a window onto their aesthetics.
He also connects with the cat, Nietzsche, knows its Martian name without being told.
Hints at communication beyond words, doesn't it? Maybe sensitivity to other consciousness, animal or otherwise?
Then there's the weird vending machine thing. Mike hits 3 jackpots. How?
Unclear. Intentional. Coincidence. Maybe hints at abilities we don't understand, interactions with technology, and then the visit to the Fosterite Tabernacle.
With Senator Boone trying to recruit them. Pretty transparent power grab.
Exposes how human institutions might try to use Smith, exploit his position.
And the Fosterite services themselves, the difference between the outer circle and the inner one is stark.
Yeah, the Martian chanting the "Thou art God" message in the inner circle. Very different. And poor Digby getting flustered when Mike interrupts the ritual.
Shows how disruptive Smith is to establish routines, even religious ones. He doesn't fit the mold.
But Mike is learning. He starts understanding jokes, human nuances.
And Jill is changing too, right? Becoming more Martian in her outlook. It's a two-way street.
Definitely. A reciprocal influence. They're both being transformed by knowing each other.
And then Mike laughs. At the monkeys in the zoo? That's huge for him.
A massive step. Shows him connecting with human emotions, finding amusement. He's integrating.
Meanwhile, Jubal's appreciating Rodin, seeing human struggle in art rather than religion. Still the insightful humanist.
Yeah, focusing on tangible experience. And life goes on around them. Romances bloom among the secretaries. Adds that touch of normal human drama.
Jubal really defends Mike's lifestyle later on. Doesn't see him as immoral, just a genius with different rules.
And he tries to find common ground theologically, saying Mike's all is God idea isn't that far from some humanistic traditions, trying to bridge the gap intellectually.
But he's still worried. Compares Mike's potential fate to Christ's crucifixion. He sees the danger from those who fear difference.
He understands the historical pattern, and we see Digby climbing the ladder in the Fosterite church, while Foster seems more and more manipulative.
Yeah, looks like they might be trying to use Mike's presence for their own gain.
Then the magicians leave, Smitty and Patty. Patty's comments about Fosterite tattoos and that holy kiss.
Seems like that really opened Jill's eyes to Foster's hypocrisy, didn't it?
Looks like it. Patty reveals some of the less savory, maybe self-serving sides of the movement.
Patty leaves wanting their love, but Mike still struggles with that word, that human concept.
Still a barrier. Shows the enduring differences in how they process emotion.
Jill gets more comfortable being looked at, which Mike didn't do naturally. She tries showing him naughty pictures to explain sex.
And he's just innocently confused. That gap in understanding intimacy remains huge.
Mike worries Jill isn't laughing as much, fears she's becoming too Martian. Shows he's aware of the changes.
But then the zoo trip, and he laughs. That breakthrough moment again. Connecting, adapting.
Things shift again. The big conference gets postponed. Jill and Dawn step up, running Fosterite services while Mike rests.
And Ben returns to find things quite different. The group dynamic has clearly evolved.
But the core connection between Jill and Mike is strong. They share water with Ben, bringing him into that ritual, that kinship.
Reinforces the nest identity, their unique bond transcending norms.
But there's awkwardness too, isn't there? The nudity, the different moral codes. Ben struggles with it.
Yeah, Ben represents the conventional view. Jubal sees Jill as having this invincible innocence and defends the whole nest's way as moral because it lacks malice. There's a clash of ethics.
They talk about the kiss of brotherhood, its history. Jubal's concern now includes the whole group, not just Mike.
His sense of responsibility has definitely grown. He feels protective of all of them living outside the lines.
Jubal admits he doubts the old ones exist, but he respects Mike's belief in them.
Right. He sees Mike as a genius playing by different rules, ignoring society's expectations. Rational skepticism alongside respect for faith.
We hear about pressure domes going up on Mars, the future is arriving. Back on Earth, Short gets promoted in the Fosterite church, mixed reactions.
And Mike's busy, running his language school that people think is a church, winning big at gambling.
Which gets him in trouble with the syndicate, but then he pulls off a miraculous jailbreak.
Seems like it. Plus, Mahmoud and Dr. Nelson are now water brothers. Mike's influence is spreading in unexpected ways.
Mahmoud gives that deeper explanation of Grok. It's not simple understanding, it takes years of Martian-level thought.
Really drives home how complex and alien that concept is. Way beyond just translation. A different mode of being, almost.
And Sam talks about how Mike's ideas could change everything. Economics, relationships, big stuff.
But Jubal's just tired. Understandably. He wants simple pleasures, not endless philosophy. The intensity has taken its toll.
Jill thinks she might be pregnant. Wow.
Big news. And the whole nest gathers, even Captain Van Trump and his wife. Feels like something's building.
Mike's thrilled to see Jubal, shows off his powers. He talks about needing confession, a Martian thing he wants to introduce.
And he sees his temple being destroyed
Yeah.
as, okay,
Yeah.
like just a necessary step. Focused on the idea, not the building.
Then the bombshell. Mike knew he was being spied on.
And we learn about the missing fifth planet, the discorporated beings, the ghosts that are part of Martian reality. Deep stuff.
Mike apparently thought humans could reach that same state, that beatitude.
But he realizes humans are not Martians. The fundamental data is different. Even with the same logic, the outcome isn't the same. That's huge.
A pivotal realization for him, so he decides he's ready to show humanity the fullness.
Leads to that final scene. The crowd outside the Sanssouci Hotel, expectant.
And then the mob attacks him. It's brutal. But even as he's dying, he keeps saying it, "Thou art God!"
A devastating end. But he sticks to his core message right to the last breath, even facing violence and total misunderstanding.
In the aftermath, Douglas stays in power, somehow. Ben Caxton takes over the hotel, which the Nest now owns. A strange shift.
Yeah, some things stay the same, others change radically. Jubal grieves, but recognizes the lessons learned. And Dorcas is pregnant, choosing a name. Life goes on, but different.
So yeah, the man from Mars, he definitely left a mark, didn't he? From total confusion to moments of understanding and then tragedy.
Absolutely. The sources paint a picture of this massive cultural collision, showing our own limits when we face something truly alien and the challenging ideas Smith brought.
Which leaves us wrestling with that big question, maybe. What does it actually mean to grok someone, or something totally different?
And what happens when we try? The potential is huge: enrichment, connection, the veer. But the risks, as we saw, are also profound. Misunderstanding, fear, violence.
So as you think back on this deep dive into Valentine Michael Smith's story, maybe keep pondering that. Cultural relativism, what divinity might mean, and just the sheer difficulty and importance of encountering profound difference.